What's going on, guys, and welcome inside another episode of the Fuel Your Vision podcast. And in today's episode, I bring on one of the most fascinating guests that I've ever had on the show. This guy literally made over $50 million before the age of 30 years old by taking a company public inside of the affiliate marketing space inside of the casino and online gambling industry. He made over 50 million before 30, and then shortly after that, he realized that money is not the key to happiness. It's just one piece of life. And so, he started getting into the charity side of things. And one thing that he really realized, and you're going to hear about this inside of the episode, is he started giving his time, and he started going to, different, on like different mission trips, if you will, around the world. And, from doing that, he also realized that, that wasn't his skill set. He wasn't able to actually provide, the amount of total value that he believed he could. And so actually what he did was he went back to the drawing board. He relaunched a new company called great.com, where he spent over $900,000 on just the domain name alone. And the entire purpose of the company and of great.com and the team is to literally make money in the online gambling space and then give that money to respective charities around the world. He says it's truly the most controversial charity project out there, and the entire mission is to make as much money as possible and give every single penny away. So without further ado, I want to welcome you guys into today's episode and welcome the guest on, Mr. Erik Bergman. And if you like today's episode, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, as well as subscribe on iTunes and YouTube. Appreciate you. We'll see you guys on the inside. All right, we are live. Welcome inside another episode of the Fuel Your Vision podcast with your host, Alex Lombard. Super excited for today's episode. This is someone that, I organically reached out to on Instagram. And so we've kind of built a very new relationship, but I'm excited to hear a little bit more about, what you got going on. So welcome to the show, Erik.
Thank you very much for having me, Alex. I'm looking forward to this.
Yes, absolutely, man. So, just to give some context to the audience here, like I mentioned, I was on my Instagram, one day. I think I saw somebody promote your account. Congrats on hitting 100K, by the way. I saw you just hit that not too long ago. That's awesome. That's awesome. Big landmark there. And I just, a lot of times when I see, entrepreneurial figures kind of get shouted out in my network, I always like to just kind of go explore, see who they are. I just really liked, the message you were sending, man. It kind of just hit me. I read a little bit about your story and was looking through your account. I just thought it was awesome. And so figured I'd reach out, see if you were interested in jumping on the show, and, here we are. So why don't we start with you, kind of giving a little bit of background on just who you are and just share a little bit about your story. And then we'll kind of break down more of what you do throughout the show.
Sounds good. I'll start at the very beginning, just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
So if you went to my kindergarten back in the days, like in 1992, when I was 4 years old, you would have found me playing with Legos. You would have found me trying to stop the water of the stream next to there, or building a sandcastle. I was always building something. And I think that passion has just gone with me through everything that I've done. I've always loved building things. So I am a builder. I love building companies, but I also love building relationships. I love personal development and just seeing the progress in myself. And it's always been that way. So I think that's who I am, and what I just innately love doing is just building.
And did that come from anything? Like, do you think that, were your parents like in the building of any kind, or like, how, where do you think that came from?
No, I just think I think I'm born that way. So my parents are pretty much as far from entrepreneurs as you can come. My mother, she's a physiotherapist, and my father has worked in social services the last 25 years.
Okay.
And are very risk averse, has made sure never borrow any money. So instead always lived cheaply to make sure they don't need to borrow money, taking very, very little risk. And then somehow me and my brother became big risk takers.
Yeah, that's funny. It sounds very similar to my story. It's the same thing, man. Neither of my parents were entrepreneurs, and kind of the same boat, saving every penny, and then just like I came out and and just started taking a bunch of risks. So that's funny. And I feel like that comes from, at least for me, when I was growing up, I would like see that, and it never like appealed to me because of like the life that they lived. It's like we weren't like struggling, but like we weren't able to just go do whatever we wanted to do, and so when I kind of saw the restrictions on just freedom and life and money, it kind of made me realize that I don't really want to live like that, and so I started taking risks and stuff. I don't know if that's the same for you.
Well, I think that it's hard to say, obviously. I think it could be the complete opposite for me as well,
Mhm.
that knowing, so I grew up in a very, very safe environment with a loving family in a very typical Swedish small town. Nothing ever happened. Like, I remember the headline in a newspaper one day was like, cow got stuck in a swamp. That's like the main news article going on. So I can feel that the main thing that my parents have brought my entrepreneurial journey is the feeling that regardless how badly I fuck up, I
Mhm.
will still have a safe harbor to return to. So I
Yeah.
think that that security that they provided made me feel that I could take a lot of risks. So I don't think that I took them as much to get to some place. I took them because I felt safe enough to do it,
Yeah.
and it just felt more fun doing it that way. And
Yeah.
when I've heard like my father telling stories, he grew up not poor, but moderately not wealthy, and I know that at some point my grandfather, he was a painter and had his own business painting signs, and one time he got screwed over by his only employee. And I remember my father telling me how my grandfather told him, like, okay, we're gonna need to cut back now because we can barely pay rent. And like we need to like take the milk and put water into it so it will last longer. I mean, not living on the streets poor, but like, okay,
Sure.
this is tight. And
Yeah.
I've never even considered anything like that. It's never been, money has never been something that I, I haven't had as much as I wanted to, but it's never been a challenge. It's never been
Mm.
like we can't do things. We might end up on the street. So just having that sense of security, I believe, has been a great benefit for me to be able to take risks.
Yeah.
And I can see lots of people take risks because that's the only opportunity. That's the
Mhm.
other kind. Like you might have to take risks to get out of poverty or whatever. So I think it can work in both ways. But for me,
Sure.
I'm truly grateful for having that sense of security early on.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome, man. That's definitely a big blessing. It's like you said, there's people that have like their backs against the wall, right? So you have like the motive of inspiration, which is kind of more like you, where you have like that security. So you're like inspired to go do something because you're not really afraid of failing. And then you have like the desperation, which is the other motive, which is like the people with the backs against the wall. So yeah, and I would agree too, man. It's crazy how similar, kind of the same thing for me. Like my family, same boat. Like they were always very supportive, very, had that like sense of security and that safety net. So, but I kind of at the same time wanted something different, but that's interesting. So let's move into, more of, kind of the journey, right. Of what you did. Right. So tell us and take us down the journey of, when you started getting into business for yourself, what you started doing. And then, really, I guess kind of like what was it that really broke through to your massive level of success?
Yeah. Okay. So from childhood and onwards, I always had small little projects. I sold the bed. I sold lottery tickets. I hustled in various kind of ways. And I think the first real quote unquote business venture was I tried to become a party planner when I was 19 and rented this nightclub. I arranged this DJ. I told everyone in school that this is going to be the best night ever. Invited everyone, and I remember standing in the door. It was a Friday, waiting there with my guest list, and first guest came, and they walked in. They looked around, and it was empty. So they left, and the same thing happened with the friends that came after that, and the people after that, and a couple of hours into the night, I realized that, wow, this is a complete failure. I saw like my friends walking away, just disappearing. No one is even there to support me. And I left in tears, and I was completely devastated and humiliated. And I think that was the worst part about, like, okay, what are people gonna say about this?
Sure.
And I came back to school that Monday, and I was just waiting for people to laugh and point and just make fun of me, and nothing happened. And I got so surprised by that. No one said anything, and it confused me. And then I started thinking, okay, so why is no one caring? And I realized that people are so busy caring about their own lives. They don't have the time to worry about my failure or anything else. I mean, if anyone would have had a party in your school and no one came, would you have cared?
No, yeah, not at all.
No, I wouldn't have cared. And up until that moment, I was horrified of failing, because what would people say? And I think the most public humiliation, at least I could come up with, was to arrange a party, trying to be cool, failing completely in front of everyone, and yes, having to deal with it. And after that, I felt, I wouldn't say that I felt immune to failing, but at least I felt it doesn't really matter if I fail that much. I started 5 different businesses that all failed one way or another. And it just, every little business took me someplace closer to where I wanted to be. So that first failure, that business, party planning business, taught me that, okay, it doesn't really matter if I fail. My second business was, we're building a lunch guide, a guide where you had all the restaurant menus. So and they serve different food every lunch in Sweden. So we took, what is the food at each restaurant today? And that business failed completely. But that way I got to know, I started working with Emil, who I then later on started my company with. And every little failure took us a bit closer to later on building an online marketing company in the gambling industry that went, that became very, very big and became the success. But it came after lots and lots of failures.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I love that, man. I love that because it's so relatable. You know, so many people on, especially online nowadays, they always kind of put out this image, especially on like Instagram, of, you know, just overnight successes, right? Just like you see these young kids that claim they do all these amazing things and they're standing next to Lambos and all this stuff. But, you know, and maybe they have achieved whatever it is that they're portraying. Most of them haven't. But even the ones who have, you know, a lot of times they shy away from the fact that like it took them 5, 10 plus years to actually get to that level of success. And they had and not only did it take them that long, but there was a failure after a failure after a failure. You know, the same goes for me. It took, you know, when I started my journey, it really took me like 5.5 years of just like endless different things that I was trying and, you know, just running with for X amount of time, different people, different groups, different ventures, different investments, and all of them just, you know, continued to fail. But like you said, it brought me closer to, you know, eventually where I got to that point where I was able to, you know, quote unquote succeed. And so I love that. I think that's so cool. So let's talk a little bit about, you know, the casino thing. I was reading a little bit about that, man. And that's something that really caught my attention because it's just so fascinating. And I want to know more about that and what you're doing. On your site, I wrote it down on your site. You said that you became a millionaire in affiliate marketing inside of the casino space. And so I'm very familiar with affiliate marketing, and I'm also very confused as to what that even means. I've never heard those two things put together. So tell me about that. What is that all about? What are you doing? How did you achieve that? And, you know, what's behind it?
Yeah, okay. So I started playing poker when I was 16, and I fell madly in love with the game of poker. And at age 18, I got really good at it. And I started winning a lot of money, and I started playing professionally. And if you're playing poker professionally, you're paying somewhere between $2,000 and $10,000 a month in different fees. So that's how I got into the gambling industry in the first place, by just being madly in love with this card game. And what you could do was that you could get special deals with the casinos, since you were such a big player, that got you back a lot of this money. So that fee is called rake, and you could get something called rake back. And you could get up to 50% back if you became an affiliate. So I became an affiliate, meaning that I earned like 55% in commission of whatever these players brought in fees. And then I gave 50% of that back to the players so they would play with my deals and my deal with the casino. So basically, I could have a deal with a big casino and I say, okay, I got Alex here. He's a big player. And I'll get him to play with you guys if I get to keep 55% of the revenues. And then I gave you 50 out of those 55, keeping 5 for myself to make you want to play through me. So was like the original kind of affiliation within poker space, getting those kinds of deals. And I just did it over chat, over MSN back in the days, over different forums, and just finding players that way. I didn't even have a website. From that, I got into actually online bingo to start with, because the poker site I was working with, they had a sister site that was a bingo brand. So then I built, Emil, my business partner, built. He was the brilliant guy behind everything. I was just coming up with ideas and he made them happen. He built this online bingo guide. So you could find a bingo bonus if you wanted to find, a guide about how to play or different chat games. There were all kinds of things. So we put information about that, comparing what is the best bingo room in Sweden at the moment, where do I get the fastest withdrawals, who has the best customer support, all of these kinds of things. And we started ranking that in Google and finding people who wanted to find bingo sites. And we got roughly 30% in commission. So if Alex, in this case, he got tired of being a professional poker player and instead he started playing online bingo with his grandma, then we would still earn a commission that way. So this grew on took us into the casino space a couple of years later, and we became kind of the TripAdvisor for online gambling. So Katina, my previous company, runs lots of different guides about casino. So think TripAdvisor, Hotels.com, Momondo, whatever, but all the information about casino. And then we earn commission on any player who decides to play.
That's amazing. So the commission comes from the fee that it costs to play, or the amount that I'm betting?
So it depends. So some casino, you can have, usually there are two kinds of commission models. First one is called revenue share, which means that you actually get a part of what the player generates in profits. So let's say you go to a casino, you gamble away 100 euros, $100 or whatever, and the revenue share is about 30%, pretty common. Then I would earn $30 for you as a player. But I would do this on a lifetime basis. So if you play again in 2 months' time and you do another $100, I get another $30.
Wow.
So if you play over a long period of time, that's a great profit model or commission model. Or you can earn what's called CPA, cost per acquisition, which is basically I get a fixed sum for you playing. So when you make your first deposit, if you're making a deposit of $10 or $10,000, it doesn't matter. I will still get the same amount, which is usually between $100 and $200.
Wow. And this is all online, right? You didn't do any of this like in person?
Everything is online. Yeah, everything is online.
Wow, that's so fascinating, man. This is just proof that in today's world, you seriously can make money doing almost anything. It's so crazy. I've just never even heard of that before. I mean, that's a whole new world, man, that probably so many people have never even thought of before. I didn't even know casinos of any kind offered affiliate deals. That's so crazy. I love that. That's awesome. It's so unique, man. It's so unique. So I don't know if you can share this, but just out of curiosity, what's the biggest win that you've had in your gambling career? In like one
so
session?
when I played poker, best day was probably $8,000 or something like that in profits.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
And what about your biggest loss?
Probably about the same, $7,000 in one day.
In the same day?
Not the same day, but yeah, worst days were probably roughly $6,000-$7,000 in one day.
Okay. So what does it take to become a professional poker player? Like, how do you have to do something to like qualify that? Is it just based off the amount you play, based off the amount you bet? Like, how does that work?
I mean, the definition of professional is you make money from it. You can be professional on Instagram if you're just making money out of it becomes your profession. That's the only definition. So being paid to do something. And I would say that to be a real professional, quote unquote, it needs to be your main source of income. So you're not really an Instagram professional just because you sell a couple of shout outs and make
Sure.
$50 a month. But if you're making $2,000 a month, I would say that you're professional at Instagram. So I would say that a professional poker player is someone who's skilled enough to win at least $1,000 or $2,000 a month over a certain period of time. And I did that for several years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. I like that. And so do you still play at all?
No, not at all. I played for the first time now in probably first time in 5 years. I played last weekend because it was my bachelor party. I'm getting married in March.
Oh, congrats. Thanks. That's awesome.
And we were, it was a small group of people that were old poker professionals that got together. So it was a lot of prestige in that game. And we were 4 people playing. 2 of them were much, much better than I was back in the days playing professional poker, and played a lot longer. So I didn't expect to have a chance, but I managed to win the prize, which was this Viking trophy standing behind me. We had
That's
the
great.
Viking games, and the end event was a poker tournament. So that was the first time I played in 5 years.
That's great. So what was the reasoning behind stopping?
Business started going really well, and I stopped enjoying it. So I used to love playing poker. I started playing purely out of lust and just wanted to play 24/7 when I was 16. And I still loved the game until I was maybe 20 probably. I passionately loved playing. It was everything that I thought about, everything that I spoke about. I mean, that's what it takes to become really good at something. When you start thinking about something in the shower, that's when you know that you can get really good at it. So if you're thinking about Instagram strategies or podcast ideas in the shower, you're like, I love this. I can get really good. And after a couple of years, I just stopped loving it. And I started to think about business in the shower, and then business took over. So by 2010, I was 22. By then, my company started making some money. We made maybe $3,000 a month or something. So by then I stopped playing poker and I started focusing on the business instead.
And so what was that business, and do you still do that today?
So that was the affiliate business, starting the bingo affiliate business. We started that in 2008, and it took about 2 years before it started making some decent money, which is the other side of things that people don't talk about, that it takes time to get anywhere. So we made, the first year of bingo affiliation, we made $1,000 in total, split 2 ways.
Wow.
And then the second year, we managed to get to $1,000 per month or something like that. And third year, we got to like $3,000 a month. And then it just took off after that.
Wow. That's so cool. And so do you guys still do that today?
So that's the business that I've sold. We took it to that business is called Catena Media. And we took it to the stock exchange in 2016 at a $200 million valuation.
Wow.
And I still have some shares, but I've sold most of my shares over the time since then.
That's so amazing, man. Congratulations. That's cool.
Thank
you. A lot of entrepreneurs dream of doing that one day. So that's really awesome. So,
it's
so let's,
fun.
Yeah, I bet. Right. So let's move into, this segment of, I don't even know how to like word it, but the great.com. So this was, when I was looking into this, I thought this was really fascinating. You went and you bought, the domain name great.com for just shy of $1 million, which is just so absurd, but it makes sense because it's a powerful domain. And you do a lot of stuff with this, man. You do a lot of really cool stuff. It seems like you really kind of shifted your focus in life. And so why don't we kind of talk about that whole world? I'll let you just kind of take the reins, share what you want to share. I know you're doing a ton of charity stuff. You had a really powerful story about, traveling somewhere, like a third world country, and it really impacted you. So kind of talk about that and what that's all about.
Yeah, sure. So we took the company to the stock exchange when I was 28. Actually, on my 28th birthday, we took it to the stock exchange. And that day, I sold shares for about $15 million, which was obviously all I could ever dream of and more. And I was so happy that day. I was just laughing with my whole body, smiling constantly, just jumping around full of energy. And I mean, how long do you think that feeling can last?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't last that long. No feelings last that long. So like 2 weeks after that, I was waking up and I had a cold. I didn't have any energy. I was like, what now? This is what I've been fighting for. This is what I've been dreaming about. What's now? And I lost a lot of my joy and my energy and my inspiration to do things. So I started evaluating life and started seeing what I want to do. And after a while, I got into like, okay, charity. Let's see what can I do that is good for the world. And I ended up going to Africa, to Ghana. I had donated some money to a school there through a friend, and I went down to visit that school and see what was going on. And I remember after that first day in class where I was visiting, I was sitting with Torsten, the guy who was starting the project, and talking about this the school. So they had one school and there were some other schools around it. And he said that when we are not using the school building, when we don't have classes, any of the other teachers from the other schools can borrow our classroom and be there, because that's got a lot better, like ventilation and everything was modern. And he said it was on one condition. It was that in this classroom, you never beat the kids. And that just caught me off guard. Like, to me, it's so obvious that you never beat the kids. Yeah. But here it wasn't obvious. Like, here the kids got beaten every day. And I mean, just imagine going to school and knowing that you're going to get your ass kicked. Mm-hmm. It's like, and that became a very powerful experience for me, knowing that, ooh, I want the world to be a safe place. What can I do about this? And I started involving myself in lots of these different charity organizations, doing all kinds of things. And I felt a newfound meaning in that. Like, I already had more money than I could ever need. I don't spend that much. I don't have an excessive lifestyle. But I felt, okay, there is so many things that can be done to make the world a better place. And I got involved with an orphanage in Uganda, trafficking in India, kindergarten in the slum of South Africa, all kinds of different things. And I didn't really find what I was looking for. I didn't feel like this is where I can truly contribute. This is where my skill sets makes the most sense. And then I got introduced to a concept called earning to give, which is like a charity idea, basically meaning that if you are really skilled at making money, or you're really skilled at anything that people are willing to pay you a lot of money for, it's likely that the best thing that you can do for the world is just focus on making money and then giving your money to people who are really good with charity. So instead of trying to do the charity yourself, instead of for me trying to go to Ghana and build a school, I could focus on online marketing and funding someone who's really good at building schools.
Yeah.
And that became a big shift for me. Like, okay, I'm really good at making money, really good at building businesses, I'm really good at casino marketing. How can I make this into something that makes sense? And that became like the foundation of great.com. So the goal with great.com is to build a cash generating machine in the casino space, which is pretty much as far as charity as you can come, and use all of that money to fund charities, like money that would probably go to big boats and private jets by rich casino people like myself otherwise, will now go to, we'll mainly focus on the climate at the moment. So it will now go to save the rainforest, basically.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
Dude, that's so cool, man. That's so cool. I love it. That's it reminds me of I don't know if I'm sure you are familiar with Tony Robbins, but he always says success, the greatest failure is success without fulfillment. You know, so literally what you did, you know, achieving the monetary side of things, you know, the main goal you had for so long and achieving it, and then you're not fulfilled, you know, and it's like, that's the greatest failure of all time. And you're a perfect example of that. But then, you know, overcoming that and really searching out, you know, and finding your purpose, which is a huge, you know, goal of this show. And so I love that, because it's just such a perfect example of what I'm trying to like highlight, you know, with this show. So, you know, thanks for sharing that. A question I had, man. So I love the idea. I think it's very powerful what you just said, about if you're really good at one thing that can generate a lot of money, maybe shifting your focus back over to that, and then taking that skill set and earning money and then using the money to fund a charity that can go out there and do great things. It's just a different perspective. I feel like a lot of people don't think about that. They think they have to be the ones going and doing everything. But that's a little bit, a little bit of a shift in a different perspective, which is really cool. So how do you identify which charities you're going to give to, or like fund, right? Essentially, because there's so many of them that do so many different things. So how do you kind of go about that process?
So I started following my heart originally, just seeing what do I know, who do I trust. And I pretty soon realized that that's a really shitty strategy. The heart is a beautiful organ, but it's not a very smart organ, unfortunately. So I started doing research on this, and there are organizations that does this research very, very well. So for example, there is an organization called givewell.org, I think the website is. And basically what they're doing is that they're looking at all kinds of charities, and they're not looking at who gets the most money to the cause. Instead, they're looking at who improves the most lives in the most way for each dollar donated. Like, where can you make the biggest impact? Which pretty much always is in extreme poverty. Like, if you give someone $1 and they have $1 to live on, you're basically doubling what money they have to do, which could be the difference between life and death.
Yeah.
But if you did give $1 to someone who already has $1,000, you're basically not making an impact at all.
Sure.
So they're very focused on how do you provide for the extreme poorest people in the world. So givewell.org ranks different causes, where one is really make a huge impact is preventing malaria, with just giving a mosquito net in a very mosquito dense areas in mainly Africa and South America will have a much higher probability of saving a life than pretty much anything else you can do. So I've been following their advice a lot. And I'm also very focused on climate now, and that organization focuses mainly on how you improve the lives of humans, not necessarily climate. And then there is another organization called Founders Pledge, which is really cool. What they do is that they partner up, they want to educate entrepreneurs to do good. So they have like a club, quote unquote, where you can become a member for free if you promise, and you need to sign a legal pledge, like saying, when I sell my company, if I sell my company, or if it goes for an IPO or whatever, I will give X% to charity. And then they will arrange networking events for entrepreneurs, do all kinds of cool things for business people, help you to do things, and everything else is for free. You just need to dedicate that once you, either when you take it to public, sell it, or when you die. So it's like Bill Gates have this giver's pledge, which is basically give away your money when you die. And this is a similar thing. And they also do evaluations of all kinds of charity organizations, like who makes the most impact. And they have researchers and scientists looking into this. So then we follow their recommendations on which organizations are the best for the climate. So we're not trying to do this research ourselves because it's really extensive. It's like a lot of things to look into, but instead following their recommendations of really smart people.
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds like it. That's really cool. That's good to know. And I'm sorry, what did you say the name of it was again?
So the first one is called GiveWell. I think it's givewell.org. Not sure, it could be .com. Okay. And the other one is called Founders Pledge. And their website is founderspledge.com. And both of them are amazing organizations doing really cool stuff.
That's really cool, man. I love that. So right now, you said that you kind of went back and started focusing on what you're good at. And so what are you kind of doing, right now? Because you obviously sold the bingo company that blew up. You're not playing poker anymore. So like, what exactly is it that you're doing in the business side of things today?
So the intention now is to rebuild a casino comparison site, basically, and do that much better than anything that I've ever built before. That before I've been involved with building lots of websites simultaneously, trying to have niche websites for each target. And the intention has been to make money as quickly as possible with them. Mm-hmm. And now we want to do this over a very long term. Like, how can you build the master site that is good in everything, but might take 10 years to build. So now we're very focused on building one casino project. And we're also very focused on building a team that is remotely. So we're 7 people right now in 5 different countries, I think. Like,
Wow.
how do you build that company culture here? How do you get people to work together when they don't see each other?
Yeah.
How do you organize all of these things? So currently we're launching the first casino projects now and getting started with that. So I'm very involved with that side of the business. And then I'm doing a lot of efforts on social media in various ways, which is a completely separate hobby project of mine.
Yeah.
Where the intention is to spread the word about these kinds of things. So I want to make, if I could make one footprint on this planet, that would be to make charity cool. Because I think that if it was as cool to do charity work as it is to have a Rolex watch, we wouldn't have any problems in this world.
Wow.
But unfortunately, it's not. It's not. I would like to make people very, very proud of doing good things for the world, proud in a way that they talk about it, proud in a way that people look up to it, proud in the way that people are jealous of someone for all the good work they do, so they want to do more good things, like it is with the Lamborghini. I mean, instead of these young Instagram people like bragging next to a Lamborghini, I'd love to see them like next to a well in Africa, like, look what the fuck I did. Because I
Straight
think
up.
if it was okay to be proud of that and people were bragging about that, proudly like talking about it, I don't think that we would have problems in the world. I think that we would solve it. But no one is really doing that. It's like Jeff Bezos now donated $10 billion to the climate yesterday, which is like this amazing thing. And the newspapers still write about the negative thing that Amazon does. It's like, I'm like, fuck, please cut the guy some slack. Just donate $10 billion. I read this article about, they said like, first, okay, Jeff Bezos donates $10 billion. And then it was like, but Amazon is still one of the biggest companies in the world that's letting CO2 into the atmosphere. I'm like, man, how can you turn this into a negative? It's like, I want to be very active on social media because I want people to be proud of doing these things. I want people to think 10 years from now, when my company hits an IPO, I'm going to fucking do good for the world.
Yeah.
I want that to be cool. That's like deep, eager thing I really want to accomplish. And I really want to do good things with great. And I think that great in itself can make great accomplishments. But both of these things can hopefully help each other in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, I love that, changing the public perspective, of what's cool. Like you said, I loved the tagline, making charity cool. That's a really, really awesome thing. And, I think it's a great mission. I think it's a really cool mission, and having, like you said, and especially in today's world, like the young people that are going out there and crushing it, especially in the online space and the social media space, and really using those blessings, for good, and focusing on giving rather than always just taking and building up an ego, is really going to make a difference, in our world. So I couldn't agree more, dude. I love it. I think it's just such a great message. With that, let's talk about your podcast. So you started a podcast called Becoming Great. Share a little bit about what that is and what you guys do.
Yes, it's the same intention there, that I want to inspire people to do businesses, and in the long run I want them to do businesses for the greater good. So it's a combination of talking about great outcome and how we're building this project, what's the frustrations of running a company, like you get to see inside like my pain and my struggles that happens, and the same for other people in the team, like how do we deal with having to fire someone, what's going on in our heads, how do we deal with failing to meet our goals. It's kind of a reality podcast show about those things. And then we're combining that with a lot of episodes that is like, how do you overcome fear as an entrepreneur? Or how do I invest my money? Like, what's the research behind what I'm doing? And like, what's the most common mistakes that I've done and I see other people do when running a company? Or how do you reach out to get your mentors? It's like, combining these with every other episode is about, this is what it feels like to run a project that we're doing, and kind of we've been using this to recruit and find people to join us, but also like, this is what you, and we're doing this. It's me and Emil, who is the first guy into Great. And we get so much value from doing this because we have a very good conversation, and he's really good at like asking questions. And we were supposed to do an interview the other day about why we're missing our goals currently. And I had all of these answers figured out. Like, this is what happened. This is what happened. This is what happened. And then he asked me like, okay, so Erik, why are we missing our goals? And I just felt that I wanted to answer him sincerely. I just felt into it. And I realized, okay, all of these excuses that I've written down, they might be logical and reasonable, but it's not the truth. Or it's not the full truth. And I realized we're missing our goals right now because I don't care enough about our goals. We've set the wrong goals. That's why we're missing it. And I didn't even know that answer would come up before he asked the questions. It becomes very, very real, and it also helps me and the team to get a pure understanding of what's going on. And like, it was a big insight for me to realizing, okay, we've set goals that I don't care about. And if I don't care about it, who's supposed to be the leader of this, obviously the rest of the team is not going to care enough about it to reach it. So we sat there in like on the air, figuring out, why don't I care? How much does he care? And that became a really good podcast episode. So This is what we're doing. It's kind of a therapeutical thing for me as a leader, being involved with this as well, but we choose to share it.
Yeah, I like that. Like you said, a reality TV show of like actually what's going on behind the scenes, of building businesses and being an entrepreneur. That's really cool, man. It's a really good idea. And you have that, I noticed you have it on pretty much all major platforms, right? People can watch it on YouTube, and then you're on iTunes as well.
Yeah, definitely. Everywhere. It's still a bit tricky to find it. Becoming Great is a bit too generic of a name. So go to great.com if you can't find it, and you'll find it there.
Yeah, you're probably gonna have to spend quite a bit of money to rank up in those words.
That's the tricky part. That's the downside. Like, buying the domain name great.com was obviously not cheap. And then I realized that great.com, that name is already taken in every social media everywhere. And a lot of the time it's like some account someone bought registered 5 years ago, never posted anything, and it's impossible to reach them. It's like the Twitter account, great.com, is some inactive account. I can't reach them, don't know where they are, have never posted anything, and I'm screwed. It's like, I didn't think of that.
Yeah. That's all right, though. You can build up your personal brand and then just, kind of shovel everyone over to great.com. So there you go. So what is your 2020 vision? What do you got going for 2020?
That's a good question. Okay, so what I'm mostly excited about is figuring out things that I want to do for a very, very long time that benefits my personal life and business. I don't like setting goals that I want to reach this. Instead, I want to create processes that I really enjoy. So my dream for 2020 is to reach to a point where our team are truly passionate about what they're doing, and at the same time they're continuously improving on the website, and we can see what improve it, in what ways they improve it. We're continuously doing things that makes us rank higher and higher in Google, where there are processes in place that they do that they enjoy, because if they enjoy it, they're going to keep doing this all the time. So I want to be in a place where I really enjoy, or figured out a good way of doing the podcast that we're recording now, but doing it with YouTube and with video, and that I'm having a lot of fun doing it. I want to get to a place where I'm starting doing a lot of content for YouTube myself and really enjoy doing it. So that's the key in this. I'm not looking to get to 100,000 subscribers or whatever on anything. It's much more important for me to find a process that means that I'm going to do this for 10 years. Because, for example, Instagram now, I started doing that so I started in probably March last year, playing around with it. And for 6 months, I got nowhere. And I tried to come up with ways that I enjoyed doing this, because if I don't enjoy it, I will give up. And by October, it's like, okay, now I figure out a way to do Instagram that I'm having fun with and that works. And now 4 or 5 months later, I'm over 100,000 followers. And it all comes from finding a process that I enjoy doing every day.
Yeah.
And so now it's like I could set the target of going to 1 million followers or 500,000 followers or whatever. And that could be a goal in itself. But it's a meaningless goal if I don't have fun and if I don't enjoy what I'm doing. So as long as I enjoy what I'm doing, I will reach 500K. I will reach 1 million because I will not stop. But if I'm doing things that I don't enjoy, if I'm setting a target that I don't enjoy, I can fail. I can derail from it because it's not fun. So my only goal with 2020, or my only ambition with 2020, is for me to find processes that I really enjoy and that serves my higher mission. And the same thing for the team, that all of them enjoy what they're doing and that it serves the greater mission.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that. Creating processes that you enjoy. That's so powerful, man. So many times people, and I definitely am at fault of this, but so many times we get this goal in our head, like you said, we have like this end result, and then we start doing the things necessary to achieve the goal, but we realize, we don't necessarily like those things. And then it gets to the point where we really don't like those things, because obviously there's always going to be some things you don't enjoy. But if it's like, if you're every day waking up and you just have to force it and force it and force it, that's a pretty clear sign that you're either, not going to make it, or you will make it and you won't even enjoy it anyways, And so, no, that's really good. It's really good. So,
yeah, I have the perfect example of that. Like in 2013, I think it was, I decided like, I'm going to get in really good shape. So this was in November, and I was like, I'm going to work out every day for the rest of the year. So 2 months. And I did that. And when 2 months passed, like, I'm going to work out every day for a year. And my only purpose of this was so I would get like really sexy bodies. Like, well, it had nothing to do with health. I just wanted to have more sex, basically. And I wanted to have the bragging rights of working out every day for a year. And 6 months into this, I'm still working out every day for a year. I started to hate working out. It was like, I had nightmares about forgetting to work out. I woke up at night like, fuck, I forgot to work out, because then I wouldn't be able to kind of brag about accomplishing this. And I kept going, and I actually did it for a full year. And after that, I hated working out so much. I didn't work out for 2 years and just lost everything that I had gained from doing that. And still haven't really recovered some of my joy of working out. So it was like the perfect example of like a really horrible goal. Like, sure, I got in good shape, but at the price of hating it, torturing myself for 365 days straight. And 2 years later, lost it all because I hadn't kept going whatsoever. Where if I instead would have set a process like, okay, my goal for this year is I want to find a way that I love working out. Maybe the first month would be just writing down things I want to try. And maybe for 3 months, trying motocross, trying rock climbing, trying skiing, squash, all kinds of different sports. And then hopefully 6 months in, I found, wow, I really love these 5 sports. Now I want to do them, all 5 of them every week. And maybe I end up having a training schedule that I passionately love. And maybe I work out 3, 4, 5 times a week. And I'm not going to stop because it's not horrible. I just love, maybe I'll play tennis one day, maybe I do go-karting one day, whatever it could be, but it's getting into that pace. So with the goal that would have been, how can I find a way to love this process? I would have kept going still. I would have been in miraculous shape now 6 years later. But instead I didn't do anything for a couple of years and just lost it all. So that's like the difference between creating a process of passion and setting a goal just to hit the goal. Like I had a rock hard abs after that 1 year, but what the fuck does that matter if you don't keep on going?
Yeah, right. Exactly. No, that's a great example. That's perfect. You nailed that. Cool. So last 2 questions I have, and I ask these questions to every single guest on this show, man. The first one is, how do you go and define a visionary?
How I define a visionary? Oh, that's an interesting question. I never thought about defining a visionary. Well, I'm not sure if I do define a visionary. I don't think I have a definition for it. I think people that inspire me and people that I look up to are people who are continuously following their passion, and they can kind of see far ahead into the future, but not necessarily being too dedicated to that dream, because I think that's when you end up not changing your direction. So I'm very inspired by people who just seem to feel a lot of joy in the moment, and they can give you a pretty clear idea what they're going, but they're not dedicated to that looking in a specific way, if that makes sense. It's like people who are driven by the passion of creating. It's like, maybe you know that you want to be, let's say Elon Musk, whatever. Maybe he knows that he wants to build the perfect electric car, but he doesn't necessarily know what that looks like, or even if it has wheels, or if it's actually flying. I don't know. But being able to, like, maybe I changed my mind, but I want to keep creating. It's not like it has to be the car, because he might end up going in a completely different direction. So someone who just, and I think Elon Musk is quite a horrible example, because I don't think that he enjoys his life. I think he's working too much. But someone who's truly passionate about what they're doing, and more or less always wears a smile because they take care of themselves, they take care of the people around them, and they're just driven by that intrinsic lust of creating. That's a weird answer, but that's what I would say.
That's good. That's good. No, I love it. I love it. So second question for you, man. How does someone, if someone came to you and asked you this, how does someone go out there and discover what their purpose on earth is? What would you say to them?
I think this is a question that far too few people have given thought. And I think a lot of people feel, I don't know what my passion is, and is desperate about this. I think this is a great question to ask for that particular reason. And I believe that the only way to find your passion is the same way I would have gone about it if my goal would have been to find a workout strategy that I love. Basically, spend the first time, just write down, brainstorm, come up with ideas that you could possibly like, and then start testing them. I mean, imagine that you want to find your favorite kind of ice cream. I mean, you have no idea if you're going to like the coconut one, or the chocolate one, or the, I don't know, cucumber ginger one, if you don't try it. So, and then just start trying them. And maybe you end up having cucumber ginger as your favorite kind of ice cream, but you would never tried it otherwise. So start by just preparing, I want to try all of these things, and then just start trying them. And you might not necessarily have to really try them. You could probably look at YouTube videos about it, and you can get an idea. It's like, do I want to climb Mount Everest or not? It's like, no, that was freaking cold. At least I contemplated the idea, or maybe talk to someone who did that and see, is this the kind of person I want to be? So let's say you want to find your dream job. You don't necessarily need to try 30 different jobs, but you can at least find 30 different people who are doing those jobs and see, hey man, Alex, I want to know if I would enjoy podcasting. Can you please just talk to me for 20 minutes about what do you enjoy about podcasting? What are the struggles? What is it about it? And if that makes me inspired, then that's probably something that I want to pursue. But if you tell me like, it's all about talking about people, it's a lot of research, a lot of things, and like, hey, I hate people, I don't want to talk to people, then I know that I'm not going to want to be a podcaster. But it's all about talking to people or trying the things and feeling into, is this something that I'm probably going to be passionate about?
Yes. So good, man. I love it. That was a great answer. So I want to leave the audience with, something that they can basically take away, meaning that they can come and learn more about you. So where's the best way that people can connect with you? Where do you want me to, send people to? I know you're obviously killing it on Instagram, and you got your podcast on YouTube and all that stuff, but where do you want people to find you?
I do the most things on Instagram, Smiling Erik with a K. And that's pretty much my username everywhere. So if you want to find me on YouTube or on Twitter or TikTok or whatever, Smiling Erik is the way to go. And if you struggle to find me for some reason, go to great.com. That's an easy domain name to remember.
I can't forget that.
Ironically, I usually have to spell it out because people don't believe that I own great.com. So everyone, when I say great.com, they're like, how do you spell it? I'm like, great, like in very good. They're like, really?
Like literally great. That's too funny, man. I love it. Well, awesome. Awesome. Well, Erik, I really appreciate you jumping on here, man. This was a lot of fun. You have a really interesting and just powerful story. I think I know people got a ton of value out of this. And so I'm excited to get this out there and, and share a little bit more about who you are and what you got going on. So, with that being said, everyone listening and everyone watching, thank you guys for all the love and support. And until next time, see ya.